This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, my Rabbi good. A guten Erev Shabbos. Parshas Chayei. Shabbos Mevarchim. Chodesh Kislev, which means Chanukah is coming. And Chanukah is coming, Be'ezus Hashem. Next week we have very exciting news. First of all, the new art scroll Sefer on Chanukah is scheduled to be released, hopefully at the end of the coming week or the beginning of the following week. We also starting next week a new monthly program with a new site called Shas Illuminated. Shas Illuminated is a wonderful site that has shiurim on the whole Shas Mamish Be'iyon. And the program is, we're going to have Thursday evenings once a month, usually in the beginning of the month, questions and answers on any subject. So if anybody has any shilas they want to submit, it's going to be a very interesting forum. It's going to be, I believe, Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. Then you're welcome to join. So today's shiur on the Parsha, we're continuing on Sefer Bereshis, Parshas Chayei. The shiurim on Sefer Bereshis are sponsored by our good friend RabbiDG Burko, Zechus for Shalem Ari Tzvi ben Liba Slava, and Yusfa Tzvi ben Necha. And as we mentioned, the shiurim are now available on podcast as well, so you could check that out. So I want to share with you this morning a number of insights of the Sefer Ben La'ashri, the Tzaddik Ranana. Actually, last night we spoke out two very interesting insights, and I have a bunch more for you today. Let us begin. Maybe one day everyone will have their own copy of the Sefer. We're going to begin with page Shin Yud Aleph. Rashi tells us on the words Mea Shana ve'esrim Shana ve'sheva Shanim, at 100 years she was without sin as if she was 20, and at 20 she was as beautiful as if she would be 7 years old. Now that's a very startling concept which doesn't really make too much sense at first glance. At 20 she was as beautiful as 7. I think most people would say that an Isha is more beautiful at age 20 than she is at age 7. Certainly, it's not a chidush for a woman to be beautiful at age 20. If the Torah would say, well, at age 65, when she stood before Paroi, they still considered her beautiful, that's a chidush. You know, for a woman to maintain her beauty at 65 years old, that's a feat. But to say, Sarah she was beautiful at 20 as if she would be 7, I mean, that's not really such a surprise. If anything, at age 20, somebody would be even more beautiful. And the Tzaddik of Ranana looks at it in the following way. The Gemara says in Tainus on Daf Chavdalad Amud Aleph that the daughter of Rabbi Yossi de Min Yukras was very beautiful, and she was so beautiful that her father had to put up a fence that people shouldn't gaze at her, and a guy dug under the fence to get a glimpse of her, just to see her through the crack. And the father said, what in the world are you doing? He said, Rebbe, if I can't marry her, at least I should be zoicha to look at her. And the father said to his daughter, you're bothering people, you're causing people tsar, you should die. You're being ma'oyer people's yetzer hara. Now, b'derech hateva, when a girl is 7 years old, even if she's very beautiful, she will not be ma'oyer taiva, because she's not developed yet. So she might be beautiful, nevertheless, she will not be ma'orer people's desire. Because that doesn't happen until she's maturely developed. Now, this could be the kavanah of Rashi. When Sarah was 20, now when a woman is 20, she's at the pinnacle of her physical maturity, it would be a beauty that would naturally arouse taiva and desire. So Rashi says the chiddush was, nevertheless, because of her righteousness, she was able to maintain a certain innocent beauty that despite her being Yifas Torah V'Vas Mara, it was not ma'orer people's taiva as if she would be 7 years old. That's the kavanah of the Torah. Sarah was such a tzaddikus that even though at 20 she was at the peak of her physical maturity, but her beauty had a certain divinity to it, that it was not ma'orer taiva, as if she would be 7 years old. Okay, that's the first offering for today. We move on. Vayihiyu. What is interesting about the word vayihiyu? I never noticed this. What would we call the word vayihiyu in English? It reads the same way forward as backward. What do you call that?
Palindrome.
What?
A palindrome.
A palindrome. The word vayu is a palindrome. You know what that indicates? The Gemara in Bracha is, again, this is a Bracha share, Yud Chesam and Aleph. Somebody sent me an email, Rabbi, when are you starting the Bracha share? Hopefully soon. Maybe we'll try next week again. But tzaddikim b'misasan are called chayim. What's the remez? The word vayihiyu could be read forward and backward, me'reisha l'seifa, me'seifa l'reisha. That Sarah Imenu was alive when she came into the world, and she was alive when she left the world. Why? Because she was a tzaddikas. Vayiyu, whether she's coming, or vayiyu, whether she's going, Chayei Sarah was alive, because tzaddikim b'misasam kruyim chayim. Okay? That is another interesting offering. Vayihiyu Chayei Sarah Meah. Take those 4 words, take the Rashi Tevas of those 4 words. Vav, Ches, Shin, Mem. Now I'll tell you an interesting thing that the Tzaddik Ranana brings down, but we're not going to see that particular piece. He quotes Tosfos and Zvachim as well as Bereshis Rabbah, Parsha Yud Zayin Vav, that the letter Sin, even though the letter Shin has a gematria of 300, the letter Sin could have the gematria of 60, like a Samach, which is very interesting. But if you take the gematria of Vav Ches Shin Mem, which are the first 4 words of the Parsha, you get 354, the gematria of Deshen, ashes. What does ashes have to do with Vayiyu Chayei Sarah? Says the Tzaddik of Ranana. Very pashut, very simple. What it has to do is, why did Sarah die? She died because she heard the report of the Akedah. And when she heard the report of the Akedah, you could be sure that the Satan told her, Avram shechted almost, and he turned into ashes. So literally what killed Sarah was Deshen, ashes. So says the Tzaddik of Ranana, Leka midi d'loi ramizi b'iraisa. Everything is alluded to in the Torah. The Rashi Tevos are the first 4 words, that which are gematria Deshen, is a remez to the idea that Sarah Imenu died because she sort of heard that her son turned into Deshen. Marv Rabbi Sai, Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. The life of Sarah. What do you mean the life of Sarah? Obviously we're talking about her life. It should say, Vayiyu, what does it mean? It was the life of Sarah. Interesting idea. What do Chazal say? That when Yitzchak married Rivka, he brought her to the tent of Sarah. That Sarah had an amazing quality. That the candle, the light in her house, lit from Friday to Friday. Now, I don't know about you, Rabbi Isai, but when I go to sleep, I turn off the lights. Yeah? How about you? You like to sleep with the lights on? When I was 6 years old, I liked to sleep with the lights on, But now I like to sleep when it's very dark. But how did Sarah sleep at night? But her candle was lit the whole week. It doesn't say it went out at night. It was lit the whole week. It must be Sarah didn't sleep, like David HaMelech, who he didn't sleep. Shita Nishman, Sarah must not have slept. Shita Nishman, otherwise how could her candle burn? That means she never slept. She never was Tayim the Tam of Misa. She was never Tayim the Tam of Misa. Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. And it was the life of Sarah. She never tasted the taste of death. Her whole lifespan was one of Chayim Aruchim, real life, because she never even slept. Okay, we move on. This one is Gevaldik. Ready for this? Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. What does Rashi say on the words Shnei Chayei Sarah? Who wants to tell me? What does Rashi say on the words Shnei Chayei Sarah? Who remembers? New Chumash test. Reb Nassan, what's going on?
Every year that she lived was like every other year. She lived to the fullest.
What does Rashi say? What are the words? Right?
120 was like that.
Right. Rashi says 120, but then when the Torah repeats Shnei Chayei Sarah, Rashi says 3 words. Kulan, Shavin, L'Taiva. Yeah, they're all equally good. What's Rashi getting at? Kulan, Shavin, L'Taiva. Listen to this piece in the Tzaddik Ranana. This is awesome. He quotes the Chidah. Now, the truth is, if you go to Har Menuchos, the Chidah is right there front and center, and I'm telling you now, the Tzaddik Ranana, their signs, he's to the right. He quotes the Chidah. What's the gematria of the word Vayiyu? Vav, Yud, Hey, Yud, Vav. 37. You know, Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. You know what was really the life of Sarah? 37 years. Sarah really only lived 37 years. Why? Because someone who doesn't have children is chashiv kameis, and she had Yitzchak at 90, and she lived 127. So Vayiyu, for 37 years, Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. That's the Chidah. Now I would, comes the Tzaddik Ranana, and I'm going to make peace between them. So that says the Tzaddik Ranana that Rashi is bothered by this question. Rashi's troubled to say that Sarah only lived 37 years. Because even though someone who doesn't have children is chashiv kameis, but we just read in Parshas Noach, Eile Todos Noach ish tzaddik, Iker Todosem shel tzaddikim masim toivim. You know, a person always has to, the Chavetz Chaim writes many times, the person cannot rely on their children. Person can't say, okay, my children will learn Torah, they'll do mitzvahs, they'll do masim toivim, and they'll bail me out. Nobody knows for sure what their children will do, what their children won't do. So one always has to take matters into their own hands and make sure they have their own mitzvahs and masim toivim. So if the main toldos of tzaddikim are their mitzvahs and masim toivim, then Sarah Yimenu didn't live 37 years. She lived 127 years. So what's Vayiyu Chayei Sarah? Therefore, Rashi himself is coming, la'afuke the pshat, to say that, maybe she only lived Vayiyu Chayei Sarah. No, Shnei Chayei Sarah. Kulan Shavim L'Toiva. Don't think because she didn't have children for 90 years, so she's Chashav Kamei, so she only had Vayiyu. No, they were all equally good.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.